Hello, this is Shake and Bako, and we're going to be continuing off from our last tutorial. But before I start, let's quickly go over travel locations, just in case someone watched the multiplayer tutorial and skipped last video. Alright, travel locations is basically, if you add one, you can name it, and then you set it to active for your starting location. And once that is done, you hit the right bumper and choose the starting map and the starting location, and that is where your character will appear for when we play our adventure. Alright, now for this tutorial we're going to cover basically the enemies that will appear on our map. So first we need to build a combat zone, but as you can see we need to create some enemies beforehand. So what you do is we hit the right bumper and we go to enemy templates, and this is where we're going to be creating our enemies. So first let's go over to Troll and we'll name him, let's call him Smelly Troll. Oh, Smelly Tutorial Troll, keep that organized. Alright, and now offense and defense. Basically offense is how quickly he hurts you, and defense is how long he can last when you're attacking him. Let's use the first skin because that looks pretty like the weakest troll. And now let's create some skeletons. Skeletons will be our little bit of a tougher enemy for when we're fighting, so we'll put a little more offense and defense compared to the troll. And skeleton archer, which they're pretty like, I usually set them a little bit lower because they're ranged. They have range attacks, so I usually I make them pretty weak to hit, but to defeat, but they also are pretty hard to hit. So, and now let's make a boss. So let's select Orc for our boss at the end of the tutorial, which we probably won't go quite that far in this tutorial, but we'll get to it eventually. So we'll give him quite a bit of defense compared to the other enemies. Alright, so now what we've done is we've created enemies. So now we can go to create combat zone, and what this green is actually how the when the combat zone will be activated. So if the player runs into this green area, the combat zone will be activated, and the red is basically how long you can move before the enemies run away. And now let's just add some spawns for the enemies, and we'll add what enemies are here. So we'll put 3 trolls, which is what's set to by default. We'll go over to our skeleton warrior, set 1. As you can see, you can set plenty, but we'll just set 1. And we'll add 1 skeleton archer as well. Alright, now what initial state is if the combat zone is initially active or it gets activated through an event, we want initially activate it. And we'll have, for our event, we'll set a reward of 10 gold and 6 experience. So confirm that. And now we need to create some weapons. So we'll just hit the right bumper, go over to world items, and we'll go to sword, and let's create a sword. Alright, we'll start with a weak wood sword, is what we'll call this. Now let's name it, instead of +1, like most games, we'll actually call it -1. Oh, I actually hit underscore, so I'm actually using a chat pad, which I'm not used to, so I usually use a keyboard. Alright, and let's go back to that wood sword. And we'll make it pretty weak. Let's set to around 4 power. Now we'll make a shield. I won't bother renaming them. You can rename them when you make your map and choose what you want. And we'll do fire, which we won't put in this tutorial, but we'll use it for later. Usually it's starting magic in most games. So now let's build a treasure chest, so when the player starts, they'll be able to get their equipment. We'll do it before the combat zone, so that way they're not fighting with their fists. Alright, and what you can do, you can set a chest active, or triggered by an event, which means it will be invisible by default, which we're going to be active, and also if the chest is unlocked or locked, and of course we'll use locked. Now let's set the reward item event, And I'll cover events in more detail in a later tutorial, but right now let's just focus on the enemies. And now let's actually build a fence around our tutorial area. That way the player won't be able to skip the treasure chest, because we want them to get that chest before fighting enemies, or else they'll probably get defeated. So let me just quickly build the fence here. And what we'll actually do at the end, we'll actually have a gate to our fence. So once we collect the treasure chest, we'll have we'll use an event to make it disappear. But like I said, we won't go into too much detail on events. We'll worry about that at a later tutorial. This one's just focusing on the enemies. Alright, let's build that around the tree. Alright, and we'll make the last fence a little bigger. Alright, now we do edit, and we're gonna rename it. So let's call it fence gate. That way we'll know that's the fence we have to make disappear. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna actually edit our treasure chest. And we'll set the, oops, sorry, wrong event. We'll actually set the visibility / activated event, and we'll select our map, which is tutorial 1, and the structure, which is a fence gate, and we'll hide it, which is what's set on by default. Now when we get this chest, the gate will disappear, we'll be able to run on and fight our enemies. So let's save it, and then we'll test it out. Alright, so let's load our adventure. And sorry, I actually had a playthrough from before. My capture card stopped working, so I had to re-record this section, but so I just deleted my old save and started a new one. Let's start it on normal. Of course, you can start it at whatever you want. I just like to use normal because that's kind of like the default difficulty, and we can test out if it's too easy or too hard. Alright, so here's our map we built. Running around on it. Now let's get our treasure chest. Oh, and as you can see, that gate disappeared. What we usually like to do, or what I like to do, is if you ever have a disappear event, don't do it in front of the player. Kind of do it behind their back when they can't see it, but that's just my preference. And there are the enemies that we created. Now we have a pretty weak weapon, and we're as weak as we can be at level 0, so this might take a little bit to beat them, but that's alright. They don't do much damage, and we don't do much damage. Of course, you could always, if you find it takes too long or too short to kill enemy, just set the enemy's defense up or down. Alright, let's take out the skeleton. And as you can see, our map is pretty well ready to go with enemies. But you know what? There's not a whole lot to do other than take out these enemies. Once we beat these guys, we'll be done. So what we'll do, well, first actually, let's wait to see, because once I beat these enemies, our event is gonna trigger, which is collecting some gold and some experience, as you just saw. And as you can see, there's not really anything else to do. So in the next tutorial, we'll try to fill out the map a little more and give a little bit more detail. Alright, thanks for watching, and see you in the next tutorial.